Jack here, JBF Music and Guitar Lessons. In this video I'm dissecting my What If Dave Murray Played for Guns N' Roses solo, link in the top right if you want some context. I'll try to link some time codes in the comments below if you want more specific examples. There's a lot more to his playing than I'll get through here, but it should give you a good jumping off point. I'm just going to go through it bar by bar, explain what he's trying to achieve and give as many solos from his back catalogue as I possibly can as points of reference. In terms of the tone, a Strat with a humbucker or hot single coil, a boost, compressor or EQ, perhaps with some of the high end rolled off, or a drive pedal, into a Marshall with a good dollop of delay and reverb, mainly soloing on the neck pickup, and perhaps rolling off some of the tone will help get you his creamy sound. For a more comprehensive rig down you can check down the link in the comments below, or if I can find a good one I'll stick one up in the top right corner as well. So this is the sort of solo he'd do in a more mellow thing, so something like Phantom of the Opera, Reincarnation of Benjamin Brieg, the Cam bit of Powerslave, Twilight Zone or 22 Acacia Avenue. Very much Aeolian based for a sadder sound. I'm using short trills here to connect the ideas and stop it from becoming too bluesy or ballad like. So this kind of thing. And you'll notice what I did there was I used some hammers to connect the bar there, because he's not that much of a strict picker, definitely more of a legato man. This little bit here is instant Murray. In the key of E minor you can do it here like I've done on the solo, or here. He uses this move a lot, so try and get in your ear and see which solos you can spot it in. Leaving a fair bit of space here and trying to make the phrases overlap the bar rather than just start on the first beat. Here I've got 2 tone bends followed by a tone and a half bend. I've snuck in a note from the harmonic minor. A song like Nomad, Phantom of the Opera or something with that kind of eastern feel he goes for will be a good example of this. And if you play this bit a tiny bit rushed and add in a microtonal bend, you get a more Murray nuance, a tiny detail, but it's these little things that add up and make the difference. So rather than just being, if you try to and rush it a little bit, little details add up, do make a difference. After this more sort of exotic phrase, I'm going for a more bluesy hard rock thing and revving up for the next section. This bit here is something like From Here To Eternity or Holy Smoke would be another example. I'm taking a basic blues rock phrase and messing about the timing to make it a bit more exciting, less predictable and more vibey. Now at this point I'll say I'm pretty sure Dave Murray's playing is largely improvised and played out of feel, which is very hard to recreate. There are loads of great interpretations of his solos on YouTube, performed really well by incredible players, but there's often something not quite there or almost missing. And I think it's that spontaneous improvised factor. If you keep it too precise, it can feel a bit rigid. If it's too improvised, it can get a bit too messy. Dave Murray has found pretty much the sweet spot between improvised on the fly raw energy and still keeping it clean and coherent, which I found pretty hard to demonstrate while still keeping the tab and lesson accurate. Just something to bear in mind more than anything else. Anyway, that's why this lick is played in 3 different ways, each losing a note to make it a bit more exciting, shorter and faster. So the last variation there, I'm just doing that. The next bit I've gone more or less taken from Rainmaker. This is a particularly good example of the on the fly improv thing he's done, just a means from getting from A to B. So that bit in particular, if you listen to Rainmaker, it's there and it's really quick, and he's clearly gone here and he knows he wants to get to there, and the easiest way to do it is to slide up like that. After the rest of this shameless ripoff, I've opted for some of what I call the Murray trill. I've just done a video on this topic, so I'm not going to delve into it here. You can check it out in the top right if you want a more in-depth look at how he uses it. In a nutshell, I've done less conventional groups of triplets, so it has a very displaced and more improvised feel, maybe a bit like Flight of Icarus and Number of the Beast. Also, I slipped in this accidental here. Most of his playing is largely in key, but there are accidentals, which in some cases I think are quite literally accidental. No pun intended. Or maybe pun intended? No, okay. Due to the nature of this way of playing it, if you're trilling all over the place, live and at quick speeds, you're bound to hit a note or two out of key, Most of the time it's just going to sound quite cool and add a bit of spice, and in fact most people's ears won't be fine-tuned enough to pick them out, especially in a live context, provided the note is used in passing and not sustained or played too much. So this trill thing here, the next section goes back to some more bluesy playing, Holy Smoke, Blood Brothers, Thin Line Between Love and Hate. It's all pretty nice for the fingers as well. Murray isn't likely to do large stretches, and his playing will normally use slides to avoid any kind of larger intervals on one string. This next run is a bit like Flight of Icarus or the end of Aces High, maybe Afraid to Shoot Strangers. It's got an odd rhythm, which for me is trying to accurately transcribe some of the more improvised Murray madness. This sort of thing is often easier to just try and do intuitively, just squeeze the notes in sort of thing. So this bit, here I've got some double stop uni bends to build up. A bit like Run to the Hills, that springs to mind, or the Duellist. You might want to be on the bridge pickup. For a bit more bite to them, it's up to you. Then I've got a sequence going up the scale along the lines of the Trooper live solo, Run to the Hills, Rainmaker, or possibly the start of Chains and Misery. Using legato when crossing the strings to make life a bit easier. He does this a fair bit and it makes this sort of spontaneous high speed playing much more doable. Next, I'm going down the scale but using the open E string as a pedal point. I've discussed pedal points in my Yngwie Pro Tips video, link up at the top right. So if you want to find out a bit more about that, that's probably better to find out about this compositional idea. It's a bit like Afraid to Shoot Strangers, Powerslave, Clansman, or Killers. We've got this thing going on. Oops. Next up, the very first Murray lick I ever learned, although it took me a long while to get any sort of speed on it. But when I did, it was like one of those eureka moments, felt like a real breakthrough. So it's similar to the trill idea, but with one extra note. Ides of March, Purgatory, Prowler, among many examples. This little shape is a really big part of his playing, so I'm going to look at a few permutations of it here. What I've done at the tab, you can do that. We could also hammer. We could start on this note. And what we can also do is start here, but then do a trill. A thing you'll do is double them up a lot. So there I'm just trilling a little bit more to make the rhythmic variations a bit more interesting. Back to the solo, and that's exactly what I've done. I've doubled it up. I've gone. And the reason is to stop it from getting too stale or predictable. I came out of this into a kind of Trooper Number the Beast style descent. Double stop with a whammy bar dip to wrap up this phrase and give it a little bit of breathing space. You'd hear this kind of thing in Chains and Misery, Number the Beast, or when he's improvising live. I think there's quite a few solos on No Prayer for the Dying where he does this as well, but I can't think of them off the top of my head just now. Next we've got a line you might recognise from Run to the Hills here. This is about all the whammy bar stuff I managed to squeeze into this solo, which is an area of his playing that's really worth exploring. It's quite subtle and somewhat infrequent, but he does get some really cool sounds out of it. So if you do that with a slightly wider bar, you're going to get that kind of cooler, spacey sound he gets in the song itself. To finish up here, I've got some trem picking you can hear in something like 2 Minutes to Midnight, Moonchild, or the live Trooper solo. Just trem picking up the scale. And then finishing off on the aforementioned instant Murray lick. Nice bit of vibrato on that fret as well. Well, thanks if you stuck it out this far. The old YouTube algorithm really favours watch duration, and the average attention span of the modern day human is arguably akin to that of a gnat. So thanks very much for sticking around. Makes these longer video lessons feel much more worthwhile to take the time to do. Anyway, let's just recap that and try and condense it a tad. Creamy tone, the instant Murray lick, the Murray trill, the embellished trill, so that's this thing. I know it sounds overly flamboyant, but it's the best I can come up with to describe it. Legato, hammers, slides, minimal tapping in some solos actually, overlapping phrases, so not starting the phrase on the start of the bar, improvised feel and odd groups, a mix of blues and Aeolian, some Phrygian as well I suppose, accidentals, the kind of notes out of key, the harmonic minor 7th and the blues note will be good ones, also the kind of Dorian natural 6, you can sneak that in sometimes as well. Open E is a pedal point, trem picking up the scale, and whammy bar, both kind of subtle use, and he does do the old kind of dive bombs and stuff like that as well, and some nice bending. I couldn't get everything in here. I feel this is a fairly comprehensive list. If I've missed anything important out, please do let me know down in those comments below. Cool. So as always, I really hope this video has been useful for you guys, both for the fans of Murray and those curious to learn a bit more on their never-ending guitar quest, that you've got some new licks, tricks, tools and ideas to use, develop and work into your own craft. That has been the case and you've taken away some new information, found it informative, want to show support for the channel, give it a wee pop in that notorious YouTube algorithm, please do consider to share, like, comment and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Cheers guys.